Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. Today I'm going to be sharing some tips for working remotely. Now of course, normally on this channel we talk about writing, editing, publishing, everything related to writing. Today I'm going to veer a little off topic and cover something that is related to a lot of those things, but at the moment is just really relevant to our current situation. And that is tips for working remotely or working from home. I know a lot of people have switched to working remotely due to the current situation with COVID-19. Here at Reedsy, the entire team works remotely. We've always worked remotely. So if there's one thing that we know other than how to publish books, it is how to work from home. So I asked the entire Reedsy team to share with me their favorite remote work tips. So these are some tips not just from me, but from everyone here. So if you've recently switched to working from home, no matter the circumstance, I hope that these tips can help make that transition a little easier. Number one is to clear the biggest tasks from your to-do list right away. If you leave the biggest task for the end of the day, it's just going to be hanging over you. It's often easiest to try to clear the biggest task that you need to do, or the set of biggest tasks, as early in the day as possible. A system that I find works really well for me when I'm organizing my to-do list is to have a few things to do early in the day that might be fairly easy, clear those off so my to-do list looks shorter, and then focus on the main task that I have to get done. Then I find once those are done, I just have some smaller things to get done for the rest of the day. Similar to that, find a good system for keeping track of your to-dos. I like to make a to-do list the night before. And one thing that I find really helpful when making my to-do list is to write down next to each task how long I think it's going to take. So what I started doing when I make my to-dos is writing next to it how long I think it's going to take. So for example, do this thing, it'll take 2 hours. Do this thing, it'll take 15 minutes. And then I organize them from highest amount of time to lowest amount of time. Another thing that I find really helpful is to set a period of the day focused work. Of course, it's really hard to focus intently for an entire day. Our minds can't really do that. So what I find most useful is to identify the period of the day where I want to be most focused. For me, usually this is from around 10 till around 1. And this is my period of focused work. Whatever it is that's going to take the most energy, that's going to take the most focus, the most thinking, the main thing that I need to get done for the day. So my period of focused work is where I really make sure that I cut out all distractions, since this is where I'm going to be putting in the most mental energy into my work day. Probably anyone who's giving you tips for how to work from home is going to tell you to set a routine, and setting a routine is so helpful. If you approach working from home as being so flexible that you don't even need to create a routine, it's going to be really hard to stay productive. The problem when you don't have a routine is that work will tend to expand to fill as much time as you have. So if you don't have a routine, your workday will expand to take up the entire day. Creating a set routine, waking up at a consistent time, having a consistent morning routine, taking lunch at a consistent time, helps you maintain a sense of regularity and helps you know and keep track of how much time you have. Therefore, when your workday ends, it'll help keep you mentally on track to get your work done by that point. I know when I first started working from home, I had a really inconsistent schedule because I was also a student, and so being a student meant my schedule was really inconsistent. So I didn't really have a set routine, and it was really difficult to manage, and I would find that the workday would just expand to fill the whole day because it was hard for me to rein it into a specific set of hours. Along with that though, you want to make sure that you are setting aside time for breaks, setting aside time to stop and stretch. Even taking a walk midday is something that I find really, really helpful, especially when you're working from home. You're spending the day alone a lot of the time, and so I find that getting some fresh air in the middle of the day really does give me an extra boost of energy if I'm starting to feel tired. It's probably because I've not spoken to anyone all day. Another thing you can try is setting phone alarms to signal your next task. If you feel like it's going to be difficult for you to keep to just a set schedule, when you're planning out your day, set a series of phone alarms that will go off in order to cue you that it's time to move on to the next task. Another one that came up that I think is really, really helpful is to set boundaries with the people who might be in your working environment. A lot of people, when they hear you say that you work from home, will in their minds hear, I don't have a job, or I am available at all hours. A lot of people, when they know that you work from home, will consider you available to do favors for them at any point in time. They'll call you at 11 on a Wednesday. It's really important to set boundaries with people who might interrupt you, people in your living space, or even people who are likely to call or text you during your work day. Explain to those people, hey, just so you know, like, this is when I work, so I'm gonna mute our conversations and I'm not gonna reply to you at this time if that's something that's a problem and that's distracting you. Or letting people that you live with know, hey, this is when I work, so it's really important for me to not be interrupted at these hours. It can be hard for people who don't work from home to really understand that even though you are at home, you still are at work, and to respect the boundaries that you might need to get your work done. Someone on the team suggested mild threats if these boundaries aren't respected. Notably Netflix bans or not taking out the trash for several days. So maybe those are things that you can also implement. So those are some tips for working from home. If you have recently started working remotely, as I know a lot of people have done, how are you finding the transition to that? Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time.